The Old Wolf and the Pup, a Christmas lesson in the Rocky Mountains. The wind howled through the snow-covered pines in Colorado's Rocky Mountains, carrying with it the crisp scent of winter. It was Christmas Eve, and the forest lay wrapped in a silent white blanket. Amid this majestic landscape, two wolves stood out. Grizzle, an elderly wolf with silvery fur that shimmered under the moonlight, and Luna, a 6-month-old pup with amber eyes, brimming with curiosity and energy. Grizzle, wise with years of experience, moved slowly through the snow, his steps deliberate and cautious. His deep blue eyes constantly scanned the horizon, ever watchful. Luna, on the other hand, bounded beside him, unable to contain her youthful exuberance. "Grizzle, why do we have to be so quiet tonight?" Luna asked, her voice echoing faintly in the snowy clearing. "I want to run and howl at the moon." The old wolf turned to her, amusement glinting in his eyes. "Patience, little Luna. There's a reason for everything in nature, even silence." As he spoke, Grizzle noticed subtle movement in the distance. A young deer, frail and trembling, was desperately trying to forage beneath the thick snow. Grizzle's instincts urged him to hunt, but something made him pause. Luna, following her mentor's gaze, spotted the deer and immediately crouched, ready to pounce. "Look, Grizzle, we can catch it easily." Grizzle gently placed his paw over Luna's, stopping her. "Observe, Luna. What do you see beyond just prey?" The young wolf frowned in confusion. "I see an animal hungry like us." "Exactly," Grizzle nodded. "And tonight, we're going to learn an important lesson about compassion and coexistence." The contrast between Grizzle's cautious demeanor and Luna's youthful impulsiveness created palpable tension, a timeless conflict between the wisdom of age and the recklessness of youth. "But Grizzle," Luna protested, "isn't it in our nature to hunt? Isn't that what wolves do?" The old wolf smiled patiently. "Our nature, Luna, is more complex than you realize. Yes, we are predators, but we are also guardians of the forest. Sometimes, true strength lies in choosing not to use our teeth and claws." As they spoke, the young deer raised its head, its large eyes meeting the wolves'. For a moment, a silent understanding passed among the three creatures. "Come," said Grizzle, leading Luna away from the deer. "There's something I want to show you." They walked through the quiet forest, snow crunching under their paws. Luna was restless, full of questions, but something about Grizzle's posture kept her silent. Eventually, they reached a small clearing hidden among the trees. To Luna's surprise, several animals had gathered there. Rabbits, squirrels, even a sleepy bear. All seemed to be at peace with one another, sharing the little food they had found. "What is this?" Luna whispered in awe. Grizzle sat down, his tail sweeping the snow. "This, my dear, is a tradition that began many winters ago, when I was young like you." He began to recount the story of a particularly harsh winter, when hunger and cold threatened all life in the forest. "On that Christmas Eve," he said, "I found an injured, starving rabbit. My instincts told me to hunt it, but something in its eyes, it was as if I could see my own struggle reflected in them." Luna listened intently, captivated by his tale. "In that moment," Grizzle continued, "I realized that true courage isn't about being fierce, but about showing compassion when it's hard. I decided to help the rabbit, and slowly other animals joined us. Since then, on Christmas Eve, we declare a truce. We share what we have and remember that we are all part of the same forest." Luna's internal conflict was evident. She looked at the gathered animals, then back at Grizzle. "But how do we survive if we don't hunt?" "There are many ways to survive, Luna," Grizzle replied gently. "And sometimes, by helping others, we are helping ourselves. Watch." At that moment, one of the rabbits timidly approached, offering Luna a few berries. The young wolf hesitated, looking to Grizzle for guidance. "Remember," Grizzle said, "courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Sometimes, the bravest act is extending a paw in friendship." With a deep breath, Luna accepted the berries, exchanging a look of understanding with the rabbit. In that instant, something shifted within her. A new awareness began to take root, challenging everything she thought she knew about being a wolf. As the night wore on, Luna observed, learned, and slowly began to grasp the lesson Grizzle was teaching. A lesson about compassion, community, and the true nature of courage. Dawn slowly broke over the Rocky Mountains, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. The snow glistened under the soft light, creating a breathtaking scene. Luna, still processing the events of the night before, gazed at the landscape with newfound eyes. Grizzle stretched, shaking the snow from his silver fur. "Let's go for a walk, Luna. There's much more for you to learn about our forest and its inhabitants." As they walked, Grizzle began narrating the history of the mountains. "These lands have been home to our ancestors for countless generations," he explained. "The first wolves arrived here following herds of elk and bison during the Great Migration." Luna absorbed every word, imagining her ancestors crossing vast plains before reaching these majestic mountains. "And what was their life like, Grizzle?" "It was a hard life, but a free one," the old wolf replied. "They faced harsh winters, but also enjoyed abundant summers. They learned to respect nature's balance, understanding their role as guardians of the forest." As he spoke, they passed a partially frozen stream where a beaver was diligently working on its dam. "Hello, Maple," Grizzle greeted. The beaver looked up from its work, smiling at the wolves. "Good morning, Grizzle. And who's this young one?" "This is Luna, our newest pack member," Grizzle said proudly. Maple waved his flat tail. "Welcome, Luna. I hope you're enjoying our mountains." Luna, still a little shy, nodded. "They're beautiful, but why aren't you afraid of us?" The beaver chuckled softly. "Oh dear, I learned long ago that Grizzle and his pack are protectors of the forest, not enemies. We all have our roles here." Continuing their journey, they came across a family of squirrels gathering the last of the nuts before the snow completely buried them. The tiny rodents waved cheerfully at the wolves, much to Luna's surprise. "Look, Luna," Grizzle explained, "every creature here has its own story, its own struggles and joys. Squirrels work tirelessly through the fall to stockpile food for the winter. Sometimes, without meaning to, they plant new trees by forgetting where they buried some of their nuts." Luna marveled at how even the smallest creatures played a significant role in the ecosystem. "So, everyone has an important role?" "Exactly," Grizzle nodded. "From the tiniest insect to the largest bear, all contribute to the balance of the forest." By midday, they reached a cliff overlooking a vast valley. In the distance, they could see a small town. Luna noticed the worried expression on Grizzle's face. "What's wrong, Grizzle?" she asked. The old wolf sighed. "That's the humans' town. They are complicated. Sometimes they pose a threat to us and the forest. Other times, they're unexpected allies." Luna tilted her head, curious. "How so?" "Some humans hunt needlessly, cutting down too many trees," Grizzle explained. "But others fight to protect us, creating laws and conservation areas." At that moment, they heard a rustling sound from a nearby bush. A young raccoon emerged, looking frightened. "Rascal! What's happened?" Grizzle asked, recognizing the youngster. "Grizzle!" the raccoon panted. "Hunters! They're approaching the protected area." A chill ran down Luna's spine. She looked at Grizzle, awaiting his reaction. The old wolf remained silent for a moment, his eyes reflecting a mix of concern and determination. "Luna," he said at last, "it seems your first lesson in courage and compassion will be put to the test sooner than I expected." Luna swallowed hard, feeling the weight of responsibility. "What will we do, Grizzle?" "We'll gather the pack," Grizzle replied, his voice firm. "It's time to show that we are more than predators. We are the guardians of this land, and we must protect it and everyone who calls it home." With a powerful howl, Grizzle summoned the other wolves. Luna, feeling a mix of fear and excitement, added her young voice to her mentor's call. The echo reverberated through the mountains, marking the beginning of a new adventure and a crucial test for the young wolf. Grizzle's howl echoed through the mountains, and within minutes the pack began to gather. Luna watched in awe as wolves of different ages and colors emerged from the shadows of the forest. Among them was Shadow, the pack leader, an imposing wolf with black fur and golden eyes. "Grizzle, what's happened?" Shadow asked, his deep voice laden with concern. The old wolf quickly explained the hunter's approach toward the protected area. A murmur of unease rippled through the group. "We can't let them invade our territory," growled Fang, a young and impulsive wolf. "We should attack them and drive them away." Luna felt a shiver of fear and excitement run through her. Part of her wanted to agree with Fang, to feel the thrill of the hunt. But Grizzle's lessons still echoed in her mind. Shadow shook his head. "No, Fang. A direct confrontation will only bring more trouble. We need a wiser approach." Grizzle stepped forward. "Shadow is right. Remember what we've learned over the years. True strength isn't in our fangs, but in our intelligence and unity." Luna, gathering her courage, spoke up for the first time. "And in our compassion, right, Grizzle?" All eyes turned to her. Grizzle smiled proudly. "Exactly, Luna. Our compassion can be our greatest strength." Shadow nodded, impressed. "Well said, young one. So what's the plan, Grizzle?" The old wolf thought for a moment. "We need to warn the other animals and create a distraction for the hunters. Luna, you're fast and small. Can you run and alert the beavers? They can flood some low-lying areas to make it harder for the hunters to pass." Luna's heart raced with the weight of the responsibility. I can do that." "Good," Grizzle continued. "Fang, take a few wolves and howl from different points in the forest. This will confuse the hunters about our location." Fang nodded, still looking eager for action. "And what about us?" asked Shadow. Grizzle looked at the pack leader. "We're going to do something unexpected. We'll reveal ourselves to the hunters, but not to attack. We'll lead them on a journey." The other wolves seemed confused, but Shadow understood immediately. "Ah, you mean—" "Exactly," Grizzle said with a smile. "The path of revelation." With the plan set, everyone moved to their positions. Luna raced through the forest, her heart pounding as she tried to remember the way to the beaver's dam. She could hear the distant howls of Fang and the others echoing through the mountains. Reaching the dam, Luna panted, "Maple, we need your help." The beaver quickly emerged from the water. "What's wrong, little one?" Luna explained the situation as fast as she could. Maple listened intently, his eyes widening with concern. "Understood," said the beaver. "We'll act immediately. This will affect many of our homes, but the forest's safety comes first." As the beavers worked to release water strategically, Luna ran back, spreading the message to other animals along the way. Squirrels passed the news through the treetops, while birds carried the warning to farther areas. Back at the meeting point, Luna saw Grizzle and Shadow leading a small group of wolves toward the hunters. She wanted to follow them, but knew her task was equally important. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Luna could hear distant gunshots, followed by howls and the sound of rushing water. Her heart tightened with every noise, fearing for her companion's safety. As the sun began to set, an eerie silence fell over the forest. Luna, exhausted but alert, waited anxiously for news. Finally, she heard footsteps approaching. Grizzle emerged from the shadows, looking tired but satisfied. "Grizzle!" Luna ran to him. "What happened? Is everyone okay?" The old wolf smiled gently. "We're all fine, little one, and thanks to everyone's efforts, we accomplished something extraordinary." Luna tilted her head, curious. "What do you mean?" "Look," Grizzle said, pointing with his snout. To Luna's astonishment, she saw Shadow walking side by side with a human. The man carried no weapons and seemed to be speaking calmly with the pack leader. "How?" Luna was speechless. Grizzle sat down, preparing to explain. "The path of revelation, Luna, is an ancient trail in our mountains. It reveals both the beauty and the fragility of our home. We lead the hunters along this path, showing them not just our intelligence, but also the interconnectedness of all the creatures here. Luna watched in fascination as the human took pictures and made notes, clearly captivated by what he saw. Not all humans are our enemies, Grizzle continued. Some, when shown the truth, can become our greatest allies in protecting this land. The young wolf felt a wave of pride and hope. She had been part of something truly special, something that went beyond mere survival instincts. It was a lesson in coexistence, compassion, and wisdom that she would never forget. As the situation with the hunters unfolded, Fang, the young and impulsive wolf, found himself in an uncomfortable position. Tasked with creating distractions with his howls, he ended up working alongside Aurora, a wolf he had always considered his rival. In the past, they often clashed over hunting tactics and leadership within the pack. We need to move to the eastern side of the mountain, Aurora suggested, her voice calm but firm. The echo will be more effective there. Fang felt the urge to disagree out of habit but held back. The situation was too serious for petty arguments. You're right, he admitted reluctantly. Aurora blinked, surprised by his agreement. As they moved through the forest together, a silent understanding began to form between them. Perhaps their differences weren't as great as they had thought. Meanwhile, Maple the beaver faced his own dilemma. By flooding the lowlands to protect the forest, he knew he was potentially destroying the habitats of many smaller creatures. We have to do this, he muttered to himself, his voice trembling with worry. It's for the greater good. That was when a small voice startled him. Mr. Maple? It was Pip, a young field mouse. What's going on? The water is rising so fast. Maple's heart sank. He hadn't thought about the rodents living in the low fields. Pip, you need to gather your family and friends. You all need to move to higher ground immediately. Pip's eyes widened in fear, but he nodded bravely. I'll warn them. But where will we go? Maple hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. My dam. The second level is dry and safe. All of you can shelter there until the danger passes. The gratitude in Pip's eyes was unmistakable. Thank you, Mr. Maple. We'll never forget this. As Pip ran off to warn the others, Maple reflected on how a crisis could unite creatures who normally barely noticed one another. Back with the pack, Luna found herself in an unexpected role. With the older wolves occupied with the hunters, she was left to care for the younger pups, keeping them calm and safe. Luna, I'm scared, whimpered Star, the smallest of the litter. Luna felt a wave of protectiveness she had never experienced before. It's okay, Star, she whispered, pulling the pup close. Remember what Grizzle always says. True courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting, despite the fear. As she comforted the pups, Luna realized she was growing, not just in size, but in maturity and understanding. At the human camp, a young forest ranger named Sarah was in a heated discussion with the hunter's leader. You don't understand, she insisted, showing him photos on her camera. These wolves aren't just predators, they're a vital part of this ecosystem. The hunter's leader, a man named Mike, looked skeptical but intrigued. But they attack the local farmers' livestock. How can we ignore that? Sarah sighed, feeling the weight of the responsibility. It's complicated, I know, but there are ways to coexist. Look at these images. See how the wolves regulate the deer population? Without them, the entire balance falls apart. As Sarah continued her passionate explanation, a subtle change began to appear on Mike's face. The complexity of the situation was becoming clearer to him. As night fell, all these stories converged. Fang and Aurora, working together, discovered a newfound respect for each other. Maple, by opening his home to the rodents, learned a valuable lesson about sacrifice and community. Luna, caring for the pups, took her first steps toward leadership. And at the human camp, seeds of understanding and conservation were being planted. Grizzle, observing it all unfold, felt a wave of hope. The forest was facing one of its greatest challenges, but in the process, bonds were being strengthened, lessons were being learned, and a new harmony was emerging. Dawn approached, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The forest, still damp from the strategic flooding, glistened under the rising light. It was in this moment of apparent calm that the story's true turning point occurred. Grizzle and Shadow stood in a small clearing with Sarah, the ranger, and Mike, the hunter's leader. The tension was palpable, but there was also a sense of possibility in the air. "Look," Sarah explained, pointing to a map of the region. "If we could establish a wildlife corridor here, connecting these protected areas, the wolves would have room to roam without coming into conflict with the local farms." Mike frowned, considering the proposal. "But what about the farmers? They won't agree to lose land." It was at that moment that something unexpected happened. Luna, observing the scene from afar, noticed movement in the nearby bushes. To her surprise and horror, she saw Star, the youngest pup, venturing out of the safety of the hiding spot, curious to see the humans up close. Without thinking twice, Luna ran toward the pup, determined to protect her. Her sudden movement caught everyone's attention. Mike, reacting on instinct, reached for his gun. Sarah, realizing the danger, shouted, "No!" Grizzle, seeing the situation unfold, did something no one expected. He deliberately stepped between Luna and the humans, locking eyes with Mike. There was no aggression in his stance, only calm determination. Time seemed to freeze. Mike, his hand on the gun, stared into Grizzle's wise eyes. In that moment, something shifted. He didn't see a wild beast, but a protector, a being with a family to defend, not so different from himself. Slowly, Mike lowered his gun. "Incredible," he murmured. Luna reached Star, gently picking the pup up by the scruff and carrying her back to safety. But before retreating, she cast a glance at the humans, a look that conveyed both gratitude and a silent plea for understanding. "Do you see, Mike?" Sarah spoke softly, seizing the moment. "They're not so different from us. They have families, hierarchies, and a vital role in this ecosystem." Mike nodded slowly, his worldview visibly shaken. I've never seen it that way before. Maybe we've been going about this all wrong." At that moment, Fang and Aurora emerged from the forest, bringing urgent news. "Grizzle! Shadow!" Aurora called out, her voice heavy with concern. "There's a fire approaching from the western side of the mountain. The wind is strong, and it's moving quickly toward the farms." The revelation hit the group like lightning. The conflict between humans and wolves suddenly seemed insignificant in the face of this new threat. Mike, surprising everyone, was the first to speak. "We need to act fast. If that fire reaches the farms, it'll be a disaster." Sarah nodded, already reaching for her radio to call for backup. "I'll alert the fire crews, but it'll take time for them to get here." Grizzle and Shadow exchanged a glance. The old wolf stepped forward. "We can help," he said, his voice conveyed through a meaningful look at Sarah. The ranger, understanding his intent, translated for Mike. "The wolves know these mountains better than anyone. They can guide us along the quickest and safest path to the fire." Mike, still processing everything that had happened over the past few minutes, looked at the wolves with newfound respect. "So, we're really doing this, working side by side with wolves?" Shadow stepped forward, his majestic presence radiating leadership. He met Mike's eyes and nodded solemnly. "Well," Mike said, a wry smile forming on his lips, "I guess this is the start of a very unusual partnership." Luna, watching all of this unfold from her hiding spot with Star, felt a surge of emotion. Fear of the approaching fire, yes, but also a growing sense of hope. She saw Grizzle glance in her direction, a gleam of pride in his weary eyes. "Luna," he called, "we'll need you too. Your speed and knowledge of the narrow paths will be invaluable." The young wolf's heart raced. This was the moment she had been prepared for, though not in a way she had ever imagined. As the group prepared to confront the fire, a new dynamic was forming. Wolves and humans, once adversaries, now united against a common threat. It was a turning point, not just for the immediate crisis, but for the future of the entire region. Grizzle, leading the way alongside Shadow, cast one last glance back at the forest that was their home. "May the spirits of the mountain guide us," he murmured, before turning to face the challenge ahead. The unlikely team of wolves and humans moved quickly through the forest, guided by the intimate knowledge Grizzle and his pack had of the terrain. Luna raced ahead, her smaller size and agility allowing her to explore narrower, more dangerous paths. As they neared the fire, the air grew hotter and thick with smoke. Mike, the former hunter, now ran side by side with Shadow, the pack leader, an improbable partnership forged by urgent necessity. "There!" Luna howled, spotting the first flames licking at the trees in the distance. Sarah sprang into action, coordinating with her team over the radio. "We need to create a containment line here," she explained, pointing to a rocky area. "If we can stop the fire from crossing this point, we can save the farms and much of the forest." Grizzle nodded, understanding the strategy. He turned to Fang and Aurora. "The two of you, take a group to the northern side. Use your howls to guide the animals away from the fire." Mike, watching the interaction, couldn't help but be impressed by the wolves' organization and intelligence. "How can I help?" he asked, feeling unexpectedly humbled. "Do you know the farm areas well?" Sarah asked. When Mike nodded, she continued, "I need you to go there and coordinate an evacuation if necessary." As Mike set off on his new mission, the wolves and rangers worked tirelessly to contain the fire's advance. Luna, using her speed, helped locate trapped or disoriented animals, guiding them to safety. Hours passed, and the fight against the fire felt endless. The heat was intense, and the smoke made breathing difficult, but the group's determination never wavered. During a particularly tense moment, Grizzle noticed something remarkable. A group of deer, typically prey for the wolves, was running alongside some of the pack members, all united in their escape from the fire. The sight was a powerful metaphor for the unity forming in the face of adversity. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the flames began to retreat. The containment line had held, and the arrival of the fire crews helped extinguish the remaining blaze. Exhausted and covered in soot, wolves and humans gathered in the clearing where it had all begun that morning. The contrast was striking. Where there had once been tension and mistrust, there was now mutual respect and newfound understanding. Sarah, wiping sweat from her brow, smiled at Grizzle. "We couldn't have done it without you," she said sincerely. Mike, returning from the farms, looked like a changed man. "The farms are safe," he announced, "and, well, I had a long talk with some of the farmers. I think they're more open to the idea of that wildlife corridor now." Luna, sitting beside Grizzle, felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. She had proven her worth not only to her pack, but also to the humans. Grizzle, sensing the historic moment, stepped forward. He looked directly at Sarah and Mike, then slowly lowered his head in a gesture of respect and gratitude. The gesture did not go unnoticed. Mike, tears glistening in his eyes, returned the bow. "I think we all learned something today," he said softly. Sarah, seizing the moment, spoke. "This proves that when we work together we can overcome any challenge. Maybe this is the opportunity to rethink how we live alongside nature." The words hung in the air, laden with possibility. The forest around them, though partially scorched, seemed to hum with renewed energy. It was as if the very spirit of the mountain was nodding in approval. Luna, observing it all, felt that something fundamental had shifted. This wasn't just the end of a conflict, it was the beginning of something new and promising. Grizzle, as if reading her thoughts, spoke softly. "Remember this day, Luna. That's how great changes begin, not with grand declarations, but with small acts of understanding and cooperation." The young wolf nodded, knowing the lessons of this day would stay with her forever. The future, once uncertain, now seemed to shine with new possibilities. In the weeks following the fire, a new order began to take shape in the Rocky Mountains. News of the collaboration between wolves and humans to save the forest and the farms spread quickly, capturing imaginations and challenging old prejudices. For Luna, this was a period of intense learning and growth. She found herself taking on more responsibilities within the pack, often accompanying Grizzle on his patrols through the forest. One day, while patrolling the edge of the recently burned area, Luna noticed something unusual. "Grizzle, look!" she exclaimed, pointing with her nose to a small patch where green shoots were beginning to emerge from the ashes. The old wolf smiled. "Ah, yes, renewal after the fire. Nature has its own cycles of destruction and rebirth, Luna, just like us." As they walked, they encountered Sarah, the forest ranger, inspecting the area. When she saw them, she smiled and waved. "Good morning," Sarah greeted them, her voice gentle and respectful. "We're planning a reforestation project here. I was wondering if you could help us identify the best spots for planting." Luna looked at Grizzle, surprised by the request. The old wolf nodded encouragingly. "Go ahead, Luna," he said. "Show her what you've learned about our forest." With a mix of pride and nervousness, Luna began guiding Sarah through the area. She pointed out where the soil was richest, where underground springs would provide abundant water, and which areas served as natural wildlife corridors. Sarah was impressed by Luna's detailed knowledge. "You have a gift for this," she commented, jotting down notes in her notebook. Luna felt a surge of pride, but also a pang of uncertainty. "But what if I'm wrong? What if the trees we plant don't grow?" Grizzle, who had remained silent, spoke gently. "Luna, true wisdom isn't about never making mistakes. It's about learning from them and continuing to try. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth." Grizzle's words resonated deeply with Luna. She realized she was confronting her fears and insecurities, growing not only in knowledge, but also in confidence. In the days that followed, Luna became increasingly involved in the reforestation project. She worked alongside the humans, guiding them through the forest and helping to select the best spots for planting. One day, while watching a group of volunteers plant saplings, Luna noticed Fang approaching, looking uncomfortable. "What do you think you're doing?" Fang growled softly. "Working with humans. That's not natural." Luna felt a wave of irritation, but remembered Grizzle's lessons on patience and understanding. "Fang," she said calmly, "look around you. Do you see how the forest is healing? This is happening because we're all working together." Fang hesitated, his eyes scanning the scene around him. Slowly, his expression began to soften. I never thought I'd see anything like this," he admitted. "Neither did I," Luna smiled. "But we're learning that there's more than one way to be strong. Sometimes true strength lies in building bridges, not walls." At that moment, Mike, the former hunter, approached the group. He looked nervous but determined. I brought some wild berries," he said, placing a basket on the ground. "Thought you might like them." Luna and Fang exchanged surprised glances. Slowly, Luna approached the basket and sniffed the berries. With a gentle gesture, she picked up one and ate it, maintaining eye contact with Mike. The man smiled, visibly moved. "Thank you," he said softly, "for giving me a second chance, for giving all of us a second chance." Grizzle, watching from a distance, felt his heart swell with pride and hope. He saw how Luna was growing, not just in skill, but in wisdom and compassion. She was becoming a true leader, capable of uniting different groups and inspiring positive change. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the recovering forest, Luna felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had faced her fears, challenged old prejudices, and helped forge a new path for her pack and the forest. Grizzle approached, his eyes shining with approval. "You've grown so much, Luna," he said. "Remember this: a true leader's strength isn't in dominating others, but in inspiring them to be better. Luna nodded, feeling the weight of his words. She looked out at the forest, at the humans and animals working together, and knew this was only the beginning of a much larger journey. Autumn arrived in the Rocky Mountains, painting the forest in shades of red, orange, and gold. The reforested area showed promising signs of recovery, with young saplings standing firm among the older trees. Luna, now more mature and confident, was preparing for a pivotal moment. Grizzle had announced that he would soon step down from his role as the pack's chief advisor, and the pack would need to decide who would take on this important position. One morning, while patrolling the edge of the forest, Luna came across Sarah and Mike deep in discussion. "What's going on?" Luna asked, her curiosity evident in her amber eyes. Sarah, now accustomed to communicating with the wolves through gestures and expressions, explained, "We're organizing a conservation conference. Representatives from different regions will come to learn about our new approach to coexistence." Mike added, "We want to show them how wolves and humans can work together to protect nature." But, he hesitated, some are still afraid. They don't believe it's possible. Luna felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She knew this conference could be a turning point, not just for their forest, but potentially for many others. Returning to the pack, Luna shared the news with Grizzle and Shadow. The pack leader listened attentively, his eyes reflecting a mix of concern and hope. "This is a unique opportunity," Grizzle said thoughtfully, "but also a great risk. If something goes wrong, all the progress we've made could be lost." Luna felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "What can we do to make sure it succeeds?" Shadow stepped forward. "We need to show them not only that we can coexist, but that we are essential to one another. Luna, you've been building bridges between our worlds. I think you should lead our efforts at this conference." Luna's eyes widened at the suggestion. She turned to Grizzle, seeking guidance. The old wolf smiled gently. "You're ready, Luna. But remember, leading isn't about having all the answers. It's about inspiring others to find the answers together." In the days leading up to the conference, the forest became a whirlwind of activity. Humans prepared areas for the event, while the wolves organized a unique demonstration of cooperation. Luna worked tirelessly, coordinating with Sarah and Mike, planning safe routes for the visitors to explore the forest and devising ways to showcase how wolves and other animals contributed to the ecosystem. One afternoon, as Luna watched the preparations, Fang approached her. "Luna," he said, his voice laden with emotion, I want to apologize. I was wrong about working with the humans. I see now how important this is for all of us." Luna felt a wave of gratitude and relief. Fang's change of heart was a testament to the progress they had made. "Thank you, Fang. Your strength and loyalty have always been invaluable to the pack. Now, more than ever, we need to stand united." As the day of the conference approached, the tension in the forest was palpable. Everyone felt they were on the brink of something monumental. On the eve of the big day, Grizzle called Luna for one last counsel. "Luna," he said, his voice filled with pride, "you've grown more than I could have imagined. Tomorrow, you won't just be representing our pack, but a new vision of harmony among all creatures." Luna nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "But what if I fail, Grizzle? What if we can't convince them?" Grizzle smiled wisely. "Luna, true failure isn't in not achieving the goal, but in failing to try. Remember everything you've learned, trust your heart and the wisdom of the forest. You're not alone in this journey." As the sun set, casting long shadows across the forest, Luna prepared for the most important day of her life. She knew tomorrow would bring challenges, but also opportunities to create lasting change. With a long, clear howl, Luna summoned the pack. It was time to ready themselves for the climax of their journey, a moment that could change the destiny not only of their forest, but of many others around the world. The day of the conference dawned clear and crisp. the air charged with anticipation. The forest seemed to hum with an unusual energy, as if nature itself understood the importance of this moment. Luna woke before sunrise, her heart racing with a mix of anxiety and determination. She stepped out of her den and found Grizzle waiting for her. "Are you ready?" the old wolf asked gently. Luna took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her voice steady despite her nerves. Together, they walked to the conference site, a large clearing at the forest's edge. As they approached, they saw a surprising scene unfold. Dozens of humans from different parts of the world had gathered, some in formal attire, others in field clothes. Among them, members of the pack moved carefully, guided by Sarah and Mike. The air was filled with murmurs of wonder, though a few expressions of fear lingered. Luna recognized familiar faces. Maple the beaver, demonstrating how his dams contributed to the ecosystem. Squirrels, showing how they helped disperse seeds, and even a few deer grazing peacefully near the wolves, a living testament to the harmony they had achieved. Sarah approached Luna and Grizzle. "Everything's ready," she said quietly. "But some of the visitors are still skeptical. They need to see something truly extraordinary to believe." Luna nodded, knowing the critical moment had arrived. She exchanged a glance with Grizzle, who gave an encouraging nod. With steady steps, Luna walked to the center of the clearing. All eyes turned to her. Humans held their breath, cameras focused on her, and even the birds seemed to silence themselves to watch. Luna raised her head and let out a long, melodic howl. It wasn't a howl of threat or territory. It was a song of unity, of hope, of a shared future. To everyone's surprise, Grizzle joined his voice with Luna's. Then Shadow, Fang, and the rest of the pack added their howls. The sound grew, echoing through the forest, and then something truly magical happened. The birds began to sing along with the wolves. The deer raised their heads and added their soft calls. Even the small rodents and insects seemed to contribute their voices to the symphony. The humans watched in silence, many with tears in their eyes. It was as if the entire forest was singing in unison, a powerful demonstration of the interconnectedness of all living things. When the song finally ended, a reverent silence fell over the clearing. Luna stepped forward, her eyes shining with emotion and purpose. Sarah, sensing the moment, spoke. "What you just witnessed is the result of months of hard work, trust, and mutual understanding. These wolves aren't just part of nature. They are our partners in conservation." Mike, the former hunter turned passionate advocate for coexistence, added, "I used to see these animals as enemies, but now I understand they're essential to the balance of our land. Together we've restored damaged areas, naturally managed prey populations, and even helped prevent forest fires." One of the visitors, a man with a skeptical expression, stepped forward. "This is remarkable. But how can we be sure this isn't just an elaborate trick? How do we know these animals truly understand what's happening?" At that moment, Luna did something no one expected. She walked directly up to the skeptical man, stopping just a few steps away. Then slowly and deliberately, she sat down and extended her paw. The gesture was clear. She was offering a truce, a handshake between species. The man froze for a moment, clearly conflicted. Then, with trembling hands, he knelt down and gently touched Luna's paw. The tension in the clearing dissolved instantly, replaced by a wave of emotion and wonder. Cameras clicked furiously, capturing the historic moment. Luna looked into the man's eyes, conveying without words a message of hope, cooperation, and mutual respect. She saw the exact moment understanding dawned in his gaze. Grizzle, watching from afar, felt his heart swell with pride. Luna had accomplished what once seemed impossible. She had built a bridge between two worlds, showing that true conservation could only be achieved through cooperation and mutual understanding. As the sun reached its zenith in the sky, bathing the scene in golden light, it became clear to everyone present that they were witnessing not just the climax of a journey, but the dawn of a new era of coexistence between humans and nature. In the days following the conference, a palpable change spread, not only through the Rocky Mountain forest but around the world. Images of Luna extending her paw to the skeptical visitor went viral, capturing the imaginations of millions. Reporters from across the globe arrived to witness the miracle of peaceful coexistence between wolves and humans. Documentarians began producing series on the region's transformation. Scientists flocked to study the new ecological balance taking shape. For Luna, however, the true reward came in the form of concrete changes she could see and feel in the forest around her. Neighboring farms, once hostile to the presence of wolves, now implemented non-lethal measures to protect their livestock, such as special fences and trained guard dogs. In return, the wolves helped keep deer and elk populations in check, preventing overgrazing. The wildlife corridor, once just an idea, became a reality. Large swaths of land were designated as protected areas, allowing wolves and other animals to move freely without conflicting with human-inhabited zones. Local schools began bringing children on educational excursions into the forest, teaching them about the vital role of wolves and other predators in the ecosystem. Luna often watched these visits from a distance, her heart swelling with hope for the future. One day, while Luna was patrolling the forest edge with Grizzle, they came across Sarah and Mike installing a sign at the entrance to the reserve. "What does it say?" Luna asked Grizzle curiously. The old wolf smiled. "It says, Luna Nature Reserve, a symbol of coexistence and conservation." Luna felt a wave of emotion course through her. She looked at Sarah and Mike, who waved respectfully to her. "You did this, Luna," Grizzle said softly. "You showed everyone that it's possible to overcome differences and work together for a greater good." That night, under the glow of the full moon, the pack gathered. Shadow stepped forward, his imposing figure illuminated by the moonlight. "Luna," he called, his voice filled with solemnity, "in recognition of your courage, wisdom, and dedication to our pack and the forest, I would like to name you as my successor and the future leader of the pack." A murmur of approval rippled through the pack. Luna, surprised and deeply moved, looked to Grizzle, who nodded with pride. I accept this honor," Luna said, her voice steady despite the emotion. "And I promise to lead not only with strength, but with compassion and wisdom, always striving for balance among all the beings of the forest." As the pack howled in celebration, Luna reflected on her journey. From a curious and sometimes impulsive young wolf, she had transformed into a respected leader capable of uniting different worlds for a common goal. The moon shone down on the renewed forest, a symbol of a new chapter, not only for Luna and her pack, but for the entire relationship between humans and nature. It was the beginning of an era of true coexistence, where the ancient wisdom of wolves combined with the modern knowledge of humans to protect and nurture the land they shared. Good night, my dear ones. Rest well, and remember that tomorrow we'll have more stories to share.